what I'm talking about. There's Tracy. There you go. That's the stuff, baby. Because if you don't ask yourself the question, how much pleasure can I stand, you don't know what you're missing out on. Here you girls know this NLP stuff. There you go. You got it. Now close your eyes and just relax and drift down. Because I want you to begin to just soften yourself. See, this whole thing with planning is this is how you get rid of anxiety is you plan ahead. However, you don't make plans in the same way if you're having anxiety. You know, because we can worry about everything. We find people come in and they find lots of hard ways to do very easy things. A woman come in yesterday and she came in racing, speaking at 1,000,000 miles an hour, didn't even take one deep breath. And that's a perfect way to get yourself all anxious, is you stop breathing. And she was worrying about all these things, especially with her relationship and her husband, worrying about, you know, where's he going out? Is he looking at other women? And I just go, what if? And she goes, what if what? What if he's psychic? All of a sudden, he starts thinking, why am I thinking about other women all the time? And starts moving towards them. I say, you might want to be careful about the kind of thoughts that you're putting out into the universe. And then I have people who bite their nails right to the bone. And you know, you would say they're a little bit too tense, yeah? Because they're sitting around all day asking themselves the question, am I going to die? And of course, the answer to that is yes, but not right now. And worrying about it was making it so they got absolutely nothing done in a day. We worry a lot, and I know a lot of people go through difficult times, and that's part of being in life, and sometimes we'll go and pray to God. And my answer to that is always that, you know, God's busy. You think God, who is the creator of the entire universe, has time for your little problem. You know, he's sitting up there. The more you're praying to him about these little things, the more he starts getting annoyed, thinking, gosh, I give these people this magical brain with infinite ability to think, to believe anything they want, to think anything they want, to create any plans for the future. And they're sitting there worrying. Gosh, how ungrateful are those humans? We're constantly asking ourselves the question, what if? You know, what if I die? What if things go bad? And I had a client who came to see me twice. She was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And so I asked her, when she came in, she sat in the magic chair, and I asked her, so how do you cook yourself up with anxiety? And she said, well, I sit at home and I see myself in my mind going to sleep and not waking up. And I go, wow, that's a bad plan. You know, don't plan on, you know, dying, plan on living. You know, it's your brain. You get to think whatever you want. So I did a whole bunch of deep trance. We did some age regression. I had her bathe in the best feeling she ever felt. And then I sent her home. And I always love this because the spouse, they usually have no idea at all what the hell I do. They're just going in, they're like, what the hell did this guy do? You know, she's happier than ever. She's positive. She's feeling better. You know, and then they ask, can he move up and move in? You know, that's way too expensive. Because it's your brain and you can really think whatever you want. And I'm sure some of you may know people who have cancer or chronic conditions. And when they say you have 6 months to live, my question always is, did the doctor say when the 6 months is going to start? Oh, that's a good way. And they always say, no, because it could start when you're 90. Now, but then I have a lot of doctors who are also clients, and they go, well, we wouldn't want to give our patients hope. But then I go, well, if you don't have hope, then you don't try. If you don't believe, then you don't try with every fiber of your soul, and then you don't find out. So it seems to me that hope and belief would be the very most important thing you'd want to build. Don't you think?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, I have one doctor who came to see me the other day. He went through a very traumatic experience. He went to University of Toronto. And here's the thing. He hated it. He didn't want to go. He didn't enjoy it. He got anxiety all the way through it, but yet he got through it. So I put him into a trance, and I said, John underestimates your power, your unconscious, because you've been able to take him through. Just think, He didn't want to do this. He was anxious. He hated it. He got anxiety. He had a million traumatic experiences while he was there, and you got him through it. Now, just imagine if you chose something that he really enjoyed and that was really wonderful, how amazing you could succeed. But of course, he wasn't thinking like that. Our brain is a targeting machine. So when we're thinking worries, and we're thinking, oh, I don't want this to happen, I don't want that to happen, and we're creating those images in our mind, that's all our brain sees and moves towards. When you're saying, well, you know, Matthew, I don't want you to be stressed, we don't want to do this, I know it's going to be hard, the poor kid, he's just sitting there, he's seeing images of things being hard. And then some people, like that doctor, they don't even start. They get so overwhelmed, they don't even start. They say, no, fuck that, and they don't go. So, our brain is, you really need to be careful on how we aim it. Now, a lot of people, part of the reason is because from the very first day we were born and gone through life, our parents, the educational system, everyone just checked off everything we did wrong. You know, we've gotten maybe thousands, we're masters at getting things wrong. So the next time you get something wrong, it should be really no big deal because you got at least 1,000 of those red X's throughout your career, right, ladies and gentlemen? Yeah? So the next time you get mad at yourself for doing something wrong, you think, shit, I've already done this 1,000,000 times. In fact, I've gotten so many things wrong, and I've worried so much, I've probably got my fair share for this lifetime. It might be smooth sailing from this point forward. Who knows? Kid comes in. I talk to the mom. Both are medical doctors, very esteemed medical doctors. And they're telling me that their son, who's 19 years old, has irritable bowel syndrome. And they're telling me how the child is diseased and how he's going to have to learn to live with this. And then guess what she tells me next? She tells me, well, he feels bad every time he's around me. And I'm thinking, geez, you know, I'd feel bad if you were, you know, around you too. You're telling me I'm diseased. You're telling me I'm going to have to learn to live with this. So I had him come in and I said, so let me get this straight here. Whenever you get anxious and stressed, your condition flares up and gets worse. And I say, well, what does that tell you? It tells you can control this condition. And I said, well, you could probably even predict the next situation in which this condition's going to flare up, can't you? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to go home, I'm going to sit at home, and while I'm sitting at home, I'm going to feel bad at a certain point, and at a certain point, my condition's going to flare up. I say, bad plan. And we re-aim his brain because all our limitations, the nice thing about them is they're all limited to the habitual states of consciousness which we normally go into. Worrying is accomplished by making the voices and pictures in your mind go faster than you do, so you can't keep up with your ideas. It's what creates stress, right? Are you guys moms in here? Yeah. Moms in here? You have children when they go away to like Canada's Wonderland, they come back, they want to tell you everything at once. And then you can just see the pictures going, and the voice is just going yak, 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 and they can't keep up with their ideas. So that's one part what creates stress. And then number two, any of you guys feeling out of the zone in your life a little bit? Yeah?
Yeah.
Worrying too much? Probably, right? Now, by definition, when you're worrying, you're out of the zone because you actually have to dissociate from your experience. So you're thinking about things as opposed to being in the experience. We all have different ways of motivating ourselves. Some of us get up in the morning and we're in the gym, bang, but we can't get ourselves to do taxes. Some people can't get to the gym, but they get right to the, you know, the bag of potato chips. No problem, right there, sitting there. If it's in view, boom, watch out. Eye of the tiger, baby. And we have different ways of motivating ourselves for different things. So rather than being, oh, I'm a not motivated person, or I'm an unhappy person, or I'm depressed, hi, I'm depressed, and I always say, hi, I'm Chris, you know. Get them giggling right away. We have different ways of motivating ourselves and thinking in different areas of our life. And worries specifically pertain to bad planning for the future. And all of you sitting here could probably predict situations in which you may get anxiety or trepidation. Yes? Mm-hmm. And you guys play the role of fortune tellers. You know, people come in and they say, it's going to be bad. I'm going to get anxious in that situation, and it's, great plan. Unless you'd like to do something else. Now, part of worrying and feeling bad is we have to think certain thoughts. Now, our brain fires 10 seconds before we're consciously aware of it. So we'll go into a situation, and before you know it, nerves will be racking, and you'll be filled with this adrenaline response, and that's the point where it's too late. So the trick with all these problems is to get ahead of things. See, I don't want you going into anxiety so you'd have to get out. I'd rather you just step around it and reroute it. Because when you get ahead of things, all of a sudden you're in a different state when you go into the situation. Now it becomes repatterned. Now, if you just do it slightly enough, maybe you do a little bit of therapeutic work. Now, maybe you're taking drugs to alter your neurochemistry. Unfortunately, people run the same mental strategies. Then they learn to be depressed and anxious on the drugs. Then they got to take new drugs. They learn to be anxious and depressed on those drugs. Before you know it, they're taking every drug and their brain's fried, And then we look at the commercials where you have the eggs in the pan being fried, and then they're telling you this is your brain sizzling. And you're just like, what? You got no idea what to do. That's when they find their way to me. And they go, you're my last hope. And I always tell them, well, you're screwed then. And they start laughing, I anchor it, and then we're off to the races. Because what's important is you build convincing experiences. Tony Robbins' Firewalk, the reason why it works is because people have a convincing experience where they've conquered one of their fears. So that way they can now look at other areas in their life where they're limiting themselves, and they can begin to go after and conquer them. Just like with the schizophrenic, I don't want him avoiding babies or going in and analyzing the reason why. I want him to see it as something he can go in and master. I want the child or the son who's having issues with learning to see it as a game where he has to find the right strategy to get the right performance and master it. Because when you see it as that, as opposed to reflecting on your value as a human being, your purpose, it creates a different level of motivation. Yes. So think of a desired state, get into it, amplify it, and then think about, then think about the exact situation which used to cause you anxiety in that state. And then you'll notice it repatterns everything. And then the big thing is when it comes to anxiety, as opposed to asking yourself, what if, and seeing all this bad stuff happening, you ask yourself, what would be happening if? And you begin to identify the specifics of desired states of what would be happening. So it's not enough to just say, I want to be motivated. You have to actually build in how you want to be motivated and where you want to be motivated. Because when people tell me they want to go to the gym, the first thing I ask them is what time. Because until they make specific decisions about when they're going to do something, it's just going to be something that gets put off. And the more you actually build in the specificity of it, the more you can start to build in those feelings and states where it happens automatically. Or for instance, for me, at the time I work out, my body's automatically going into this state. It anticipates it. It's just like a dog. So yes, we do have an inner Labrador. And rather than hounding it and that being a problem, we can begin to embrace it and let our Labrador shine and get what it wants. Lots of pleasure. These girls are thinking, I want to learn some of this NLP.